Good day or good evening, friends. My name is Sir Slice. Welcome to my first Pillar Chase video. Now, as you might probably know from my last video, I've been quite hostile towards Dead by Daylight as a whole. I will say, I do take some of my statements back. I don't intend to quit DBD content forever, but as I said in that video, I want to talk about things that I do like and I am into alongside Dead by Daylight. And Pillar Chase is exactly that. This is a game I love. I've been supporting it for about a year now. I've seen it grown a lot, and I like the game a lot. So I've decided, I guess I'll just be reviewing patches and changes and stuff like that. Because, I have quite a lot of opinions on the game, and so I think that reacting to patches and changes and stuff like that, could be good. So, without further ado, 8th of June, this is the testing changes. Let's go through them. I have seen some community reception regarding these changes. I haven't actually played with these yet, so maybe I'm not the best frame of reference for these changes, but regardless, let's go through them. So, first off, fixed many bugs. I mean, of course, as you'd expect from changes. Tweaked knockback to be more consistent or strong. I feel like I see this line like every single update. Well, like just tweaked knockback, tweaked knockback. I don't know if it's just me, but knockback has not worked properly in this game for a while now. So anytime I see this, I'm just like, cool. I don't care. There was one point in the game where knockback actually worked correctly, and then since then, the knockback system got changed, and for some reason it just doesn't work consistently. A lot of the time when you knock someone back, you just sort of end up going through them a lot of the time. So yeah, I don't care for this that much. Frontliner knockback reduced, sure. I don't really see any frontliners that much anymore, but maybe it's because of Blade Runner's introduction. And speaking of which, Blade Runner has a bit more startup time on both abilities. Fair. It doesn't say the specifics of how much startup time has been added, but I can understand that. I know that a lot of people found Blade Runner quite frustrating to deal with, because it was just basically free distance or a free parry, and there wasn't much you could do about it. So yeah, I think Blade Runner, that's an understandable change. Fixed issues with mobile not being able to use Spellcaster. Cool. Sure, whatever. I don't play on mobile, I play on console, so this doesn't apply to me, but cool. Kill animations are now locked to first person again. Why? I know it's a very minor thing, like it's basically just animation based and that's it, but why? In my opinion, the third person kills were completely fine. They looked good. I don't know, this is just a weird change to me. I don't mess with it very much. Removed break free upon reaching 25% HP or lower. I know people don't really like break free. I don't think it's all too necessary for that, in my opinion. I think you could kill easily, you could get people killed quite consistently, even with break free active. It just sort of helped in a last ditch situation where you want to get away from someone. I can understand the change. I don't really agree with it though. Now onto the monsters. Now this is where things get quite controversial, because Vapor has been getting a lot of changes, and some are good, some not so much, and I've heard that, a lot of people don't like them, but we'll go through it. Vapor, one of the more consistent monsters, quite universally liked in my opinion. Well designed, well balanced. So these changes, let's go through them. Stamina increased from 95 to 100. Cool. He is on the bit of slower end, I don't really care. Whatever change, whatever, Do it if you want, I don't mind. Scorching Grip, a move that people have found some grievances with. No longer grabs players, instead knocks them back and applies burn debuff. Burn debuff duration scales based on how long it was charged. So this is essentially bringing it back to its old state. In fact, if you actually watch the sneak peek, I believe, for it is, right here, it basically is going back exactly to the burn state, where instead of grabbing someone, you just sort of slap them and apply fire to them. That, in my opinion, it works. Because the thing that people don't like about Scorching Grip is the fact that the grab was uninteractive. You just sort of stood there and awkwardly just started mashing buttons. I thought it was fine, but I can see why people didn't like it. And I believe it was like a couple months back when Nyx made a video talking about Scorching Grip and how, considering it's a move that is kind of hard to land, you want it to be effective when you land it. You don't want to land it and then wait for a mini game and hope that it's effective. You want it to be effective. This technically does that. This makes it so they do take an immediate damage, like an immediate chunk of damage. They immediately, you know, get burnt and stuff like that. My issue with it is that it's just kind of lame now. Like, something that really bothers me with a lot of the changes that this game has seen is how things have just been simplified to just a boring degree. I'm talking mainly about Phalem and the clones and how they've been changed to a point where now they're just really stale and bland. I'll, you know, make a video on that at some point maybe. But Scorching Grip just being a simple slap now instead of a grab, in my opinion, there was a much cooler way you could change it. The way I'd picture it was that when you were to hit someone with the Scorching Grip, you would grab them, but instead of being put into a minigame, Vapor would just immediately like do an immediate like maybe 30 to 40 damage to them, and then right after they apply the burn debuff, they throw them, and whoever gets hit takes damage or maybe also gets the burn debuff. That makes it more interesting. That keeps the whole grab visual idea behind it. It also allows him to keep the voice lines, because I know that people really liked his voice lines, and now that he just sort of slaps you, I'm pretty sure he doesn't get the voice lines anymore of like Scorch and stuff like that. That was a terrible impression. But yeah, this in my opinion, it's a fine change, but it's a boring one. There was a way more interesting ways you could change this to be more effective, and they chose quite the cheap route of just bringing it back to how it used to be. It's just not interesting anymore. Effective, but not interesting. And Demonic Shift. Left key to teleport to your warp, right key to move your warp. Players near the warp are highlighted. This is another thing that got sneak peeked. Thank you for stuttering. Seems that you can place down a warp and basically teleport to it whenever you want, making it more of a strategic trapping playstyle instead of a more active catch-up tool. I don't like this. And I've seen a lot of people dislike it, and the reason why I dislike it, at least conceptually, is because I think the best way to put it is that it makes it less useful. Demonic Shift on its own was already a useful move, and the only real problem it had was that it felt clunky to use. You know, you had to set up your shift location and get like stuck on a lot of objects. But it was useful. You could immediately catch up to someone, and you know, maybe you'd accidentally put a bit ahead or behind someone, but that's part of the gameplay design of it, is that it punished you if you misplaced it. The way it works now is just sort of a glorified trapping tool, and it sort of reminds me of Demonic Warps with how Phalem used to have them, where you could teleport to the warps directly. This is just that, and I don't know. In fact, no, if anything, it kind of reminds me of a clone more than anything, because, you know, they highlight people that are nearby. Not a great change in my opinion. I think it just sort of changes a move that really did not need changing. Yes, it was clunky to use, but it being clunky was not it being bad. You know, I don't know. I don't like this change at all. Scorching Grip, at least I can understand it, and you know, it does simplify a move that, you know, it makes it more effective. I can see liking this move. Demonic Shift, I just don't get who this is for. Why are we changing a move that was completely fine already? Why are we changing a move into being something more complicated when Vapor is the starting monster? This is the first character you will play in the game, unless you choose Rosemary first. why are we changing him? I don't agree with this. And of course, you know, maybe it's because there was just an idea to be like, well, people don't like it being clunky. Let's change it to the previous way it works, and, you know, see how, you know, it fares. Time should not be spent on testing stuff like this. You know, there are bigger fish to fry. Literally, this guy's due to have a rework. Why are we spending time working on this? I just don't get it. I don't get what this accomplishes. It doesn't do anything. It just sort of makes him worse. And even if you do prefer it, is it really worth changing? Like, I don't know. Tell me, what do you think of this move? I don't agree with this at all. But now past Vapor, into Rosemary. She got buffed quite recently. I do say buffed because I think she's kind of... Rosemary for the longest time was in an awkward spot where she didn't really have a proper playstyle. She just sort of did things and you sort of hoped they worked. Now she's a lot more defined, where she had a proper ambushing style where you set up the essence, you'd use the orb to hit people, to apply the debuff to them, and that way you could plan your way of attack. So Rosemary's recent changes, in my opinion, were actually quite good. They made her a lot more effective, and they gave her a proper ambushing playstyle, which I think she definitely needed. So, with these changes, Withering player spread hitbox size reduced. This talking about the fact that other withered players could infect others with the Withering. Fine, you know, hitbox size reduced, sure. You know, whatever. Fine change. Damage per tick reduced from 2 to 1. This, to me, is fine, but I am concerned that it will make her worse. That being said, I will say, even though she got buffed and she is viable now, she's a bit strong. One walk into an essence cloud would chip away like half your health, which is a bit ridiculous in my opinion. You know what? This change is fine. It still acts as a setup move without being... Please ignore the background sounds. Without being obnoxious. Well, maybe some people still find it obnoxious, but, you know, it makes it more fair in my opinion. Essence duration reduced from 25 to 20. Cool. You know, it does linger for quite a while. I can understand this change. Maybe it's... If it feels too short, maybe make it like 23 seconds or 22 seconds, because 5 seconds is quite substantial, but I don't know. I think Rosemary changes were overall done to keep her more in line with the others and not make her as strong, which I like all these changes, conceptually at least. You know, I haven't played them in practice, but conceptually they seem good, especially since she got buffed and she became kind of crazy. Fogborn, the fish that is due to get a rework soon. Stamina increased from 55 to 70. I don't know. I think the recent Fogborn changes have been good. They have buffed him overall. He moves faster than survivors now. Giving him 70 stamina? Ooh, that might make him kind of crazy. He can just sort of stay on you. Unless stamina drain has been adjusted as well. That's kind of crazy. Am I weird for thinking this is crazy? I think that's quite a lot. I don't know. I don't think it's too necessary. But Fogborn is probably the character I have like the least experience with. I never understand what this character really tries to achieve, so I might not be the best to talk about balancing. Movement speed once static burst is in targeting phase increased from 14 to 18. Targeting phase, I'm assuming this is talking about just before the Thunderstrike. If that's the case, I think this change is probably fine. Because landing on someone can feel a bit awkward. Like if you're trying to strike them with the move as you're reappearing. This just makes it a bit more consistent. I agree with this. This is fine, you know, it was a bit awkward. Yeah, cool change. Foggy Stare, pull strength, slightly increased. I thought the pull stair was already really strong. If you're further away and Fogborn uses their stair, you have very little time to look away. Like the move, like a lot of people use this move like right in front of you to be like, oh, look at me. That's not how you're meant to use this move. This move is most effective when someone's further away from you, and thus they have a much smaller window to look away from you. If you use this move from further away, I feel like you would get people to look at you quite consistently. Having it even stronger just makes it even worse to play against from afar, and I mean worse to play against up close. Maybe it needed it, but in my opinion this should not be a chase tool. This should be an ambushing tool. This should be used from farther away, and then that's your opportunity to get to someone and start mauling them to death, you know. I don't know if I like this change, but everything else seems okay, I guess. Just seems like 3 buffs to Fogborn overall, which kind of surprised me. I thought he was kind of strong, but I guess not. Reduced Demonic Shift cooldown to 6. Vapor now sprints while charging Scorching Grip. Cool. Whatever. Demonic Shift is now intended to be used more strategically. Place it in locations you expect a survivor to go before you start chasing, using them to cut off. That's just what Demonic Warp does for Valem. You know, and actually his illusions as well. I disagree with this. Blade Runner no longer slows down the monster. What's the point of the blade then? People really, I know people found it annoying, but like seriously, like I think the slow was nothing. It barely impacted the gameplay. I don't think Blade Runner was that strong. And now it no longer slows down the monster. What's the purpose of the move then? Because if it's like, I know people use it for distance. Is it just meant to be like a glorified Dead Hard now from Dead by Daylight? Because what does this do? What does slashing the monster actually do? I don't like this. Because I liked Blade Runner because I used it more as a supporting tool, where if I saw someone being chased, I would prepare it, and then as the monster came into view, I'd slash, slow them down, and then they had the choice of either going for me or going for the person they were chasing for. Maybe this is because it was just unfun to play against, but in my opinion, it was barely an issue. I thought it was completely fine. So yeah, I don't like this change. And okay, there's just a bug fix. Tweak knockback a little bit. Again, don't care. Fixed FPS kill animation not displaying properly. Again, don't care. Overall, the only changes I actually like is everything done to Rosemary. Everything else I just kind of disagree with. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know. Tell me your opinions. You know, if you've played with these changes, how do you feel about them? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Have a good day or night.